All right, welcome everyone. We're going to call our May 16th regular meeting to order. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Publics Meeting Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given in a new schedule of meetings of the Spotswood Borough Council on December 28th, 2015. The new schedule was transmitted to the Home News Tribune and Sentinel. It was filed with the Clerk of the Borough of Spotswood and posted in a municipal building located at 77 Summerhill Road, Spotswood, New Jersey. After we salute the flag during our moment of silence, just after our last meeting, we lost another veteran of our fire department, John Fitzpatrick, a member of our residence for 44 years. He was a former trustee of the Spotswood Library Board, as well as a former chief of the fire department and treasurer of the fire department. John was a member of Immaculate Conception Church and Knights of Columbus and a 4th degree of the Knights. So if you would remember him and his family during our moment of silence, we appreciate it. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Councilman Seeley?
Here.
Councilwoman Rhodes?
Here.
Councilman Ritchie?
Here.
Councilman Service?
Here.
Council President Stolen?
Here.
Mayor Policino. We have a set of minutes, May 2nd, 2016, minutes from the regular meeting.
Make a motion, we move the minutes. Second.
Councilman Seeley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Ritchie?
Yes.
Councilman Service?
Yes.
Council President Stolen?
Yes. And before we go any further, I want to take this moment to congratulate our borough attorney, Patrick Dignan, the newest seated member of the state Senate. Thank you. Patrick, it's an honor to have you here with us. And I think it's good for us to have his advice and counsel. He's always has some great wisdom that he can intone to us. And I think it's also good that he's here on the front lines to see from one of the smallest towns the issues that we deal with. And I'm sure he can take that back and use that when he deliberates on issues that affect us all. So Pat, congratulations. We wish you all the best.
And I've got a second. Pat has been very responsive as a council. I've held his feet to the fire many a time, and he is always responsive offline and here in the council chambers. So Pat, congratulations.
I find him a very calming influence. He's quiet and calm, but always has great advice, and I appreciate him having us, that we can discuss that with him. All right, also tonight we have a presentation. We have some distinguished members of our police department and our police chief, Dr. Zarrow. And we are very fortunate to have Dr. Zarrow with us as chief. He brings a wealth of knowledge that we are fully utilizing while he is here. And one of the things we're doing is this certification of our police department. And Chief, if you would take that away.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. How you doing? Good evening. Council, how are you? I just want to give you a little history so you can understand how I got to this point. I started here as a patrolman in 1995, and I moved up to sergeant and lieutenant and to captain, and ultimately chief, which was always a dream and a goal. But each level comes new responsibilities, and being a chief, there's a lot of responsibilities. One that keeps me up at night, one that I lose sleep over, is policy. I rewrote the rules and regs of the police department. It took me over a year to do. It's a heavy, heavy lift. It's a lot of research, sound research, academic research, not just Googling something and calling it research, and comparing sources, back and forth, negatives, positives, what's good, what's bad. And what I came up with the policy is there's no other better system than the accreditation system through the New Jersey State Chiefs of Police Association. So tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce retired Lieutenant Colonel from New Jersey State Police and the president of the Rogers Group, Mr. Frank Rogers, to talk about the accreditation process for the Spotswood Police Department. Sir?
Thank you very much. I just really appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor. Council.
Pleasure to have you here tonight.
Appropriate? Do I stand?
Yes, if you could stand by the dais, that you'll be covered by the camera in the back.
I apologize for my back. My brother's in blue. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. As the chief's indicated, my name is Frank Rogers. I'm a retired Deputy Superintendent, Lieutenant Colonel with the State Police. I did 25 years there. Went on to start the State Park Police. I spent a year there. Got the agency set up, got them accredited, and then went out to do what I do for my business today. So as I'm standing before you today, we've been contracted by over 200 law enforcement agencies here in New Jersey alone and in other states, and that's well beyond the 200. And we come in to assist agencies write their policies, do the work that the chief has just indicated. And that's,
Yes, Frank, why don't you have a seat at the mayor's seat there? You'll be in front of the microphone. Yes, yes, that would be fine.
okay.
Thank you, Pat.
This is a first for me, so
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you. So we've been contracted by over 200 agencies to perform the services that we propose to do for your community. And basically, that's to come in and update your policies, procedures, business practices to ensure that they comport with the best practices promulgated by the accrediting body, which here in New Jersey is the State Chiefs Association. They have a separate law enforcement accreditation commission, which is been over 265 agencies here in the state that have availed themselves to the program. To date, about 175 of them have completed the program. Agencies continue to join because it's the best way to demonstrate to the public, the most transparent way to demonstrate to the public that their policies and business practices do in fact comport with the best practices promulgated by a lot of organizations. The International Association of Chiefs of Police, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, the National Sheriff's Association, and the Police Executive Research Forum, in addition to our own New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police. These best practices are recognized by the insurance industry, particularly the joint insurance funds around the state of New Jersey here. They're recognized to the degree that they go so far as to incentivize police departments' participation in the program. So back to the story again. So at present, there's about 175 that are done. They're registering with this accrediting body to participate at an average of 5 per month. And typically it takes an agency about 35 months to take themselves through the program. In doing so, it typically takes 2 mid-level managers essentially assigned full-time to do that work. Only 15% of the agencies that attempt the program on their own ever complete it. That's a national statistic. Our company, when we come in, we're contracted for a year. We assign 5 people to the contract, and you will be done in a year. So when you consider the salary and fringe associated with assigning 2 mid-level managers of your organization, and the fact that you got a less than average likelihood that you'll ever complete it is is a roll of the dice. So when we come in, you will be done. We've done many other police departments around here: Sayreville, Old Bridge, South River, the Sheriff's Office, and many others just here in Middlesex County. Our contract will be assigning as our project manager, former Deputy Chief of the West Orange Police Department, Tim Rogers, no relation to me. All of our people come from nationally accredited departments, meaning they've done all 478 standards. The program that your department is embarking upon is 105 standards. The insurance industry recognizes both programs as the same in the sense that they provide just as much risk mitigation, one as much as the other. The national program, far more standards, but a lot of nice-to-haves, not a lot of have-to-haves in there. The nice-to-haves, the have-to-haves are in both programs, though. So Tim will be our project manager. There'll be 4 other policy writers that will be assigned. They themselves all come from nationally accredited departments. They were all assessors for the accrediting bodies in the past. In their last life, they were all the accreditation managers of their own departments. So they know the program inside and out. And the 4 policy writers that will be assigned to your community are the same 4 people that I've assigned to every contract that we've had. They write the same policies in every agency. They're all genuine subject matter experts. They were that way when I first met them 7 years ago when we went business. They're that much better today because they've done this a couple hundred times since. So I can look everyone here in the eye and assure you that we would never put the council, the citizens of this town, the police department in a position that you would fail. We see this as an investment from our own company in your community, in your police department. We pride ourselves on that. We haven't fumbled the ball yet. We don't intend to start here. So I've had the opportunity to meet with the chief and some of his staff before our meeting tonight. I'm fully confident that they understand what they're about to embark upon. This is a legitimate program. Nobody's okey-doking anything. They're either doing what they're supposed to, or they're going to get jammed up. We're not going to let that happen. And we'll do a mock assessment before the final accrediting body comes through here. And only when we could look you and the chief square in the eye and say that this agency is ready to expose itself to an independent assessment of its policies and business practices would we suggest to chief that would be the time to ask for the assessment. So over the course of the next 6 months or so, we'll be revising or certainly looking at everything, starting with the ordinance that creates the police department and creates the appropriate authority here, right through the rules and regulations and every general order that speaks to each of these 105 standards. Those that need to be modified, we will modify. Everything that we do is customized for the venue that employs us. We don't write the same policy for this police department that we did for the Sayreville Police Department. Yet, I will say that there are, many common denominators to these. They're generally coming from the Attorney General's guidelines or the law that says, these policies have to say certain things, but how your community, how your police department puts them into action is unique to this community. So there's no boilerplate here. These will be policies and procedures that are unique to the Spotswood Police Department, all of which comport with the national best practices. I could go on for a couple hours, so I don't want to torture you, but I would like to avail myself to any questions that you may have about this, and I generally do better responding to questions than speaking about it.
I think you broadly explained what you do and how you do it, so any questions from members of the dais here?
Well, were you involved, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
were you involved in getting the state police accredited?
Yes, sir. When I interviewed for the deputy superintendent's job in 2002, it was my recommendation that we do that. I think most people in this room are familiar with the fact that the division was under a federal consent decree because of some racial profiling allegations. I suggested that we pursue this in a way to demonstrate in a very public manner that we were doing what we were supposed to. I left to take the job as the director of State Park Police on March 1st of 2007, and the assessment of the Division of State Police was conducted in April of 2007, 1 month after I left. We worked on that for a better part of 3.5 years. It's a big organization. A lot of things that we had to touch, so we got that done. And then when I went to the State Park Police, I walked into what was a new police department. Before I got there, they were state park rangers assigned to the different parks around the state. And I was able to get them state accredited, the same program that your organization is about to embark upon. We got them completed in 9 months. Once that was done, I went out to do this, as a consultant. As I said, we've done it now. I've been contracted by well over 200 agencies, and we've completed well over 130 of them.
State police nationally accredited? Or
Yes,
just,
they are.
Okay.
There are only 6 of them in the state. Woodbridge PD is one of them.
Right.
In the last year and a half, 6 agencies that were nationally accredited have dropped out of that program and gone to the state program, in large part because the national program is much more expensive to participate in, and the insurance industry looks at both programs as the same. So whatever benefit that they would provide to you through premium reductions and other incentives that most of the GIFs provide once you become accredited, you get the exact same benefit whether you're state or nationally accredited.
And who are your 4 project managers?
Well, the project manager will be Tim Rogers. The 4 policy writers, Mike Peoples, the former chief of the Long Hill Township Police Department. They were the Passaic Township Police Department. They were the first accredited department in the state, goes back to 1985. Mike retired as the chief there. He was also the first chair of the State Accreditation Commission. His former deputy chief, Sam Hishma, both of these 2 guys were the accreditation managers of the department. The third is a former, recently retired sergeant, Ted Bremer, and the 4th is Mike Rogers, again, no relation to me, but the brother of Tim, and he's a retired captain and former assistant business administrator in West Orange.
Thank you.
As a hospital administrator, I am familiar with accreditation processes, especially JACO. So I think it's a great thing. So it's a national accreditation or it's a state accreditation?
State accreditation.
So, but it aligns with the national, and that the 105 criteria that you're focusing on for the state accreditation mirrors a core 105 that's at the national
That
level.
is exactly correct. In fact, not to bore you, but until January 1st of 2013, the state accreditation program was synonymous, 100% synonymous with what was known at that time as the National Recognition Program. The national accrediting body had two programs, National Accreditation, which was 478 standards, and National Recognition, which was 112 standards, 112 of the 478. And the state program adopted those 112. So if you did the 112, you got state accredited, nationally recognized. For a lot of business reasons, the state accrediting body and the national accrediting body, and dollars and cents unfortunately gets in the middle of these things from time to time, the national accrediting body said you can't use those standards anymore. So what the Chiefs Association did was retain our organization. We rewrote the standards. The Chiefs Association copyrighted them. At the end of the day, best practice is best practice. How you transport a prisoner, use of force, how you document your training. The national accrediting body didn't own those best practices. They owned the way they were written up. So they are essentially exactly the same, retooled to fit very specifically New Jersey. I would submit to you, not because we wrote them, but because I'm involved with this, primarily serving as a defense expert, defending your towns and police departments as an expert witness almost every day. These standards are much better because they are Jersey-centric. The national standards had to be able to be applied in Montana and in New Jersey. These standards, they mirror the state attorney general's guidelines. There are things that you could have been a nationally accredited department and had policies that did not comport with the state attorney general guidelines. That can't be the case here in the state program.
Okay. I just lost my train of thought. Somebody else asked a question.
For the benefit of the public, both viewing and here, can you tell us exactly what this accreditation means to us?
Well, it's going to be a voluntary, transparent demonstration by your police department that the organization not only has policies in place that comport with what state and national standards say they should have, but most importantly, that they're following them. What happens here is an accrediting body, assessors employed by the accrediting body will come here independent of us, because we're essentially contract employees of the town once we start this. So independent assessors will come here to validate that your policies do in fact align with what the standards require of you, but most importantly, that you're following them. So there has to be proofs of compliance in each of the files. We're going to build over the course of the next year about 500, we have to gather about 500 separate proofs of compliance. There's 105 standards, but in each of those standards, they're called bullets. They're substandards, things that you have to demonstrate that you're actually doing. So over the course of the next year, we're going to be gathering these examples. And the assessors will come in and review that and validate that, in fact, you are following your policies. What this is not is, developing a catalog and putting it on a shelf and having your policy say one thing and your business practice speak to something else. No, they will be in alignment, and they will be validated by an independent body when we're done.
How long would that survey take when they come in to accredit us?
It's a 2-day assessment.
And they're going to reflect all of those 105 and all of those practices in those 2 days?
Right. What happens is, and being familiar with JCO, when we assemble these files, they have to be compiled in a very particular way, because the assessors have to look at the files that are built here in Spotswood and then be able to go across the street in Sayreville and conduct an assessment over there. So the accrediting body specifically promulgates how these files have to be organized. So if you can imagine, I'll use prisoner transportation as an example. There's going to be a policy that speaks to how the police officers are supposed to transport prisoners, and the fact that before they put a prisoner in their car, well, actually when they begin their shift, that they search the rear of the car to make sure that there's no contraband in there, that prior to transporting a prisoner, they search it again, and after they get back here at headquarters and they've dropped that prisoner off, that they search it again. Your policy is going to require that. We have to come up with a way to demonstrate that that's in fact exactly what they did. There's a lot of ways to do it. The most obvious way is to have that reflected in the officer's report, that he or she, at the beginning of their shift, checked and made sure that there was no contraband in the car. Prior to putting the prisoner in and after they transported, doing the same thing. I'm a 5th generation public servant. I've grown up in this. All of my brothers are on the job, and I'm around this every day. I have been since I was 18 years old. I can unfortunately tell you without hesitation that that's not the norm. The typical police department, typical police officer, no fault of their own, usually don't get into that level of detail when they're doing the reports. And I don't know what your agency's done. They may already do this, but a lot of places don't. But in order to get accredited, you have to, and it becomes just a standard business process. What happens then is, and I'm sure there's some attorneys in the room, the litigation, the cases that are brought against you, typically by a plaintiff, are taken on a contingency basis, meaning the plaintiff's attorney is going to make an assessment up front, whether they acknowledge it or not, but they will make an assessment up front how likely it is that they're going to be able to take you to the mat. And if your policies and procedures in place, and if you voluntarily and transparently already demonstrated of your own volition to an independent body that you're doing what you're supposed to, they're going to look at you and say, hey, look, this is an uphill run. Not to say they won't sue you, but the likelihood, there's all kinds of empirical data that's been gathered over the years that demonstrates unequivocally that much less litigation will be brought against your community simply for that reason. They're going to go find, the person who has their hands tied behind their back who can advance something like this in their defense.
So you're going to reflect local, you're going to go back to our resolutions or our ordinances and do that. Now, does that mean that we would not, you might say, well, here's best practice to Chief Sarro, and maybe would we have to change some of our ordinances to reflect what is best practice?
Most places we go to, we always start with the ordinance because I say it's the fruits of the bad tree. Everything starts with that ordinance and then rolls through your rules and regulations and then ultimately to the orders issued by the chief. So if it's not as tight as it needs to be, we're going to do the work. We don't come to you and say, you have to rewrite your ordinance. We're going to rewrite it for you and send it through a well-established business process. I know that is in place here. You'll consult with your labor attorney and such, and there'll be some back and forth if need be. And ultimately, the community may need to adopt a new ordinance. I would say, realistically, it's only about 40% of the places that we go to need to do that.
Okay.
Most places I've been, almost without exception, I can actually tell you, without exception, I've never found a community whose general orders were everything that they needed to be. Again, no fault of theirs. I'm the first one to admit it. When I went on the job, the last thing that I wanted to do was write policy. The last thing I had the time to do was write policy, and if I did, keeping it up to speed with the dynamic world that we live in generally didn't happen. The organization I came from was a big outfit. We had the resources in place, and in spite of all those resources that we had a difficult time. So I've lost my train of thought.
But you made your point.
Okay, thank you.
Fred, is there a lifespan for the accreditation if you have
It's
it?
a 3-year cycle, sir. Once the agency gets accredited, every 3 years the accrediting body comes back. So if the agency chooses to stay an accredited department, and I would highly suggest to you the last thing you want to do is get accredited and then lose it. That would be like your hospital losing. It's catastrophic.
Yes.
So when this program started, and this goes back to the early 80s, there were some folks, some organizations that wanted the status of saying they were an accredited department. And the world looked a lot different back in the early 80s than it did today. It was certainly, arguably, considerably less litigious than it is today. So over time, and I would say in the last 6-7 years, you very rarely find an agency that was accredited and then just walks away from it. It's not in the community's best interest, not in the agency or the officer's best interest. I want to speak for any of the police officers that are here, but I know when I was on a job, I wanted to know what the rules of engagement were. I want to know what the lane was. The last thing I think should be done to a police officer who's got a difficult job on a good day to expect that police officer to go out and the community not provide them all the guidance they need to do it properly. And if they do that, I know when I was on a job, I knew that I would have the backing of the folks that were paying me. When the rules are a little lax or the rules of engagement aren't everything that they need to be, that leaves things open to interpretation. Not necessarily just by the police officers, but by other people who are going to look over their shoulder and say you did or didn't do what you were supposed to. So, putting these things in writing is good business practice. The fact of the matter is that's what's expected of you when you go to litigation today. As I said to the chief before we started, I read different deposition every couple of days, and what I've watched is the evolution of things here, particularly in Jersey, last 6-7 years. where, before a single question is preferred to your chief about the litigation that is why he may be being deposed, one of his officers alleged to have done something, he's going to be asked a series of questions that will start with how long have you been the executive of your agency, and what associations do you belong to, the IACP and PERF and the state chiefs, and they want to know what your dues are, and do you go to the conferences, and all things that I'm sure the chief and every chief usually does. And after that, if the plaintiff's attorney establishes that the chief has spent a good deal of money, taxpayer dollars, to participate and be a member of all these organizations, all of whom say you should do this. It's very clear. In fact, they started the accreditation program. After that's on the record, then they're going to start on down a line of questioning as to what JIF, Joint Insurance Fund, indemnifies this community. And I don't know which one you guys are in, but I haven't found one yet that doesn't suggest that you do this. And in most cases, incentivizes you at minimum with a premium reduction, and in some cases, up in Morris County, they give you $50,000 toward this. In Bergen, both JIFs give you $25,000 toward it. In Ocean County, the Ocean County JIF gives you $20,000 for it. So they're not in the business of doing it because they're nice guys. They're doing it because they understand it mitigates their risk, and they don't have to settle cases that they shouldn't have to settle. And the last thing I want to say, and I'll certainly avail myself to any questions you have, but I see cases being settled all the time where the facts are absolutely as they should be. The police officer did everything that he or she should have done. But because some, in this case, the accreditation program not being in place, there's a business decision being made that, hey, look, why would we roll the dice and go down this road and have the deposition that I just gave you an example of, expose our chief to something like that and have it come out that, hey, look, we really probably should have done that. And so, you get a young police officer who comes to work and knows that they did everything they were supposed to do and sees that case settled. When that's tough to reconcile when you know you did everything you were supposed to do.
All right. Leo, I'm sorry.
Have you ever failed?
Never.
Okay.
Well, we've never failed. There is one department that I would never disclose. In fact, if a proposal I sent up to the chief, there's a caveat in there. It says after 12 months, we will bill you $300 a month. Reality is we're not going to send you a bill at $300. At 18 months, I'm probably going to start billing you. I don't want your $300. It costs me a heck of a lot more to send our guys here than $300 a month. But I know that's going to cause agita for the chief, and he's going to have to come and explain to somebody why Rogers is sending a bill in here for $300 a month. There's one community that we politely parted company with a number of years ago that would be paying me in perpetuity, just to say that they were pursuing the accreditation program. So with that exception, the answer is no, we've never failed.
Okay.
Leo, anything?
No, I'm fine right now.
Dawn, anything?
Nope.
Well, while we have Fred on the dais, I think we should have an open public portion. Anyone has any questions for him and from the public?
Oh, sure.
Entertain a motion.
Motion open to the public?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. So this open public portion is just questions regarding this accreditation. If anyone has any questions regarding that, while we have the professional here. Good evening, Cheryl.
Good evening. Cheryl Bass, 289 Main Street. I will rely upon the council president to let me know when my time is up. I was taking notes, and I'm sure we won't get to all of my notes. I'm of the opinion that the police department does a very good job. And what I have seen as a citizen, as a taxpayer, is that the media and that the present administration in Washington is working against what the police are trying to accomplish. And the courts, the attorneys, the judges, the laws are way too lenient. You pick up a newspaper, you find out, television, resisting arrest, that causes trouble for the police. Then they tell you that the person has a long list of arrest, a long rap sheet. Then they tell you, oh, we're going to release people who early release from parole. The Virginia governor released prisoners early.
Cheryl, I don't want to have to time you, but if you have a question, we don't need to rehash the
That's
the state of our
why I...
country at the moment, but
That's
if you
why
have
I-
any questions
Yes,
that
for your help.
relate to this directly.
Yeah, yeah. What can we do as ordinary citizens? We're in favor of the police. The police do a good job. The courts, the attorneys, the judges, the laws are way too lenient. These people are released. What can we do to get stricter laws, stricter enforcement of the laws, put these people away, that they do not get released?
Well, I don't know that that's a question for for Fred, but if you'd like
There are no
to.
standards on that, but, you know, supporting your police department as you obviously do, just say that's what you continue to do. It's, they need that and appreciate that.
Thank you, Sean. Any other public questions on this? Good evening, Ed.
Good evening. You have to give the name and address, or no, not at this venue?
Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt for the
Okay.
minutes.
Edward Smith, 395 Old Stage Road, Spotswood. My question was, you mentioned that there'd be middle managers, management people assigned to the...
Not with us, no, if you did it without us, sir.
Oh, okay, okay, very good, okay. What my question was going to be was, would they be police officers dedicated to that, or would that be member of the township, you know, of the...
No, if I may, that's what, you know, good Lord willing, the community would be hiring us for, and what we would need as far as assistance from the police department is someone that the chief would name as the accreditation manager, and that would be somebody that would part-time, and I say part-time is typically about 8 hours a week, collaborate with us over the course of the year in order to take the agency through the
Okay,
program.
thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
I
Ed.
got word to that.
Yes.
My accreditation manager for the Spotswood Police Department is Sergeant Edward Chaplin. He's on the threshold of his PhD. Certainly
Wow.
steeped in academic rigor, and he can certainly handle that. Where other chiefs have installation, I do not. I'm going to take my boots off, my socks off, and roll my pants up, jump in the mud. And together, Sergeant Chaplin and I are going to roll around in that mud, and we're going to knock this thing out. We're starting to prepare already, knowing that's coming, so I think I got a good head start. I get shot at a cannon every morning. I have world-class cardio. I can roll all day.
Okay.
Take that to the bank.
No, I'll be very honest with you. As a citizen, I think it's a great thing, and, you know, the council should seriously consider it. My question was, I wasn't sure, but you answered my question. It's going to be you guys doing the work, not the other situation is if they were going to try and do it on their own.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Anyone else?
Motion to close public portion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You know, the police department is one of the most important services the borough provides, and we do hear so much overwhelmingly good things about them. And having something like this, giving them the tool to even improve above what they are, I think is a great thing to do. So we wish you all the best. We thank you, Chief, for bringing this to our attention. Fred, we thank you for attending tonight. Our other officers here tonight, thank you for your support. And we're passing that, and we'll be ready to go.
Well, we got questions from the public about the cost, so it was good that you were here to present why we're doing this.
And Ed?
Colonel, you just said about, you're talking about typically 8 hours in a week for the accreditation manager. Where I came from, we had a full-time accreditation
Right.
manager assigned to this year-round because,
Because you
again,
did it on your own,
we were a nationally accredited department. We did it all through our own.
right?
Once accreditation is done, will that accreditation manager be required to do any more than that few hours a week, or is it?
Typically, again, we've done this so many times and for, you know, years now, so on average, 5 to 8% of the policies have to be sufficiently dynamic to be updated annually. So AG guidelines change, you know, modification to law, administrative code. So provided you keep that up, and I talk about the 4-drawer filing cabinet. What we're going to do is fill the top drawer of the filing cabinet with these 105 files and 400 proofs, and we're going to be working with your accreditation manager. We'll personally be mentoring him over the course of the next year, and he's going to be absolutely capable of keeping this up in 8 hours a week. But it's a real 8 hours a week. And we all know there's some folks have a different idea what that means, but it's 8 hours a week. It'll actually take less than that once we get done. We do this under contract for about 90 agencies now where we maintain it. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it down the road. That would be something the community will propose to you. We'll do that for you as well if that would be something you might want to avail yourself to.
And in 3 years, when it's time to do reaccreditation, do we do that on our own, or do you get involved in that again?
If we're retained to maintain your status, we do the same thing then as we're doing now. What we do is keep the same 5 people on the contract. They keep up those policies before the chief even knows that the law has changed or a guideline has changed that would have an impact on his or her policy. He will, or his accreditation manager will come in the morning and we'll have made those updates for them. They'll be sitting there, for the review of the chief and ultimately for him to promulgate them. That's another service that we provide, but that would only be after you're done in an accredited department.
Reaccreditation time, when we did it, it lasted a few weeks. How long is reaccreditation under the state standard versus the national standard?
Well, it's a 3-year cycle. So when you become accredited, you're accredited for 3 years. 3 years to the day from the time you're awarded that certificate by the accrediting body, you have to have had your on-site assessment again. So typically speaking, at about 34 months or so, all these files should be done. This is 34 months after you've become accredited. At about 34 months, they should be done. There should be a mock assessment conducted. If we're involved, we do that ourselves. We're very critical because we look at it as, our reputation's on the line just as much as the community's. We don't want the assessors coming in and seeing that we were party to something that was inconsistent with best practices, so we're very critical of why we're here the whole time. I say critical, and then we hold people to the standard. And if we're under the maintenance contract, we're here through the entire on-site. There's provision for Murphy's Law. Generally doesn't happen, but if it did, we would be here. We're here before the assessors get here. We're here after they leave. And we, once again, only put this community, this police department, in the position of going for their assessment only when we would sign off and say that you should be accredited. We're all assessors ourselves. We don't do it anymore for the inherent conflict involved. But we're far more critical than any assessor that's ever going to come in here and look at your stuff.
Your assessors, are they CALEA assessors?
Yes,
or are they?
We're all CALEA assessors.
Okay.
And it's a 2-day process, right?
That's what the state accreditation on site
Okay.
typically is.
Thanks again, Fred. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the dais here.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks all
Chief.
for coming out tonight.
You wanted to, when the officers here, somebody has a question about the ticket.
Yeah, there was a
Exam?
question at the last.
Chief, would you be able to stick around when we have our open public portion? If anyone has any questions about the e-ticketing or anything with that? Okay, thanks.
Good idea.
All right, Pat.
Okay, we're going to go to our resolutions under consent agenda. Copies of the resolutions are on the counter. Anyone want a copy, please take it. Council President, council members, we have resolutions under consent agenda 2016-81 through 2016-90. Need a motion to accept the resolutions.
Make a motion, we accept 2016-81 through 2016-90.
Second.
Councilman Seeley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Ritchie?
Yes.
Councilman Service?
Yes.
Council President Stolen?
Yes,
We have proclamations.
we do have proclamations. Ed, I think, is going to read National Police Week. Marge is going to do EMS. And Ted, will you be doing Public Works?
I would just prefer to do Police Week. You can give Public Works to Ed.
You know what, we're okay with that today.
If you want to work that out between you?
Yeah, we'll fight it out.
Arm wrestle? We're going to wrestle in the same mud the chief and Ed's going to wrestle in.
I don't know, his cardio is probably going to be a little bit.
You think?
Let's not even bring up that image.
Okay, I think Marge, go ahead, ladies first.
Okay. Whereas in 1973, President Gerald Ford authorized Emergency Medical Services Week to celebrate EMS, its practitioners, and the important work they do in responding to medical emergencies. Back then, EMS was a fledgling profession, and EMS practitioners were only beginning to be recognized as a critical component of emergency medicine and the public health safety net. And whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Nicholas Policino, Mayor of the Borough of Spotswood, on behalf of the Borough Council and all the citizens of Spotswood, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through 21st, 2016, as Emergency Medical Services Week with the theme EMS Strong, Call to Care, and extend appreciation to all of the Borough Emergency Medical Services workers, along with EMS Director Robert Kirsten, for their conscientious emergency medical services to the residents of the Borough of Spotswood and mutual aid to other neighboring towns in our area. Dated May 16, 2016, Nicholas Policino, Mayor. And on behalf of myself and all the rest of us up here on the dais, we certainly do extend our congratulations to our EMS team. We appreciate EMS Director Robert Kirsten for joining the borough, and we look forward to further collaboration to make sure that each and every one of our citizens has trained and responsive EMS workers come to their aid when they need us.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Who's next?
Ed?
Okay. I'm very proud to read this proclamation on National Police Week, having served 25 years on the job myself. Whereas there are approximately 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Spotswood Police Department, and whereas there have been 15,725 assaults against law enforcement officers in 2014, resulting in approximately 13,824 injuries, and whereas since the first recorded death in 1791, more than 20,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, and whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas 252 new names of fallen officers are being added to the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 123 officers killed in 2015 and 129 officers killed in the previous year, and whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 28th annual Candlelight Vigil in Washington, D.C. on the evening of May 13, 2016. And whereas the Candlelight Vigil is part of National Police Week, be it noted that because May 15, 2016 falls on a Sunday, some events will take place before the official dates of the Police Week 2016. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff, now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Nicholas Policino, Mayor of the Borough of Spotswood, formally designate May 15th through the 21st, 2016 as National Police Week, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and the communities across the nation. We call upon all citizens in the community to especially honor and show sincere appreciation for the police officers of Spotswood by deed, remark, and attitude. Dated May 16, 2016, Nicholas Policino, Mayor. On this note, I also wanted to extend congratulations to Officer Sabatino, one of our police officers, who rode 314 miles on his bike from here to the National Memorial during the Police Unity Tour. Police officers from throughout the country rode their bicycles into Washington. On that ride to Washington, there was a police officer that was involved in an accident, a retired police officer who lost his life. was a sad event, but congratulations to Patrolman Sabatino for making the trip.
Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
Public Works, always there. Whereas Public Works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to sustaining the health, safety, comfort, and well-being of the citizens of the Borough of Spotswood. And whereas Public Works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives and would not be provided without their dedicated efforts, the Public Works professionals representing the Borough of Spotswood. And whereas National Public Works Week is an appropriate time to acknowledge the importance of our borough's infrastructure and public works services, as well as to recognize the significance of the public works to our quality of life. And whereas public works professionals are always there, working tirelessly to effectively provide the structures and facilities that are essential to our borough and way of life, including operating and maintaining our streets, sewers, water supply, public buildings, grounds, and solid waste collection. And whereas the year 2016 marks the 56th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore be proclaimed that I, Nicholas Policino, Mayor of the Borough of Spotswood, and on behalf of the Borough Council and all of the citizens of Spotswood, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through 21st, 2016, to be National Public Works Weeks, and extend our thanks to the Borough's Department of Public Works, led by Director John Paul Mayer. We call upon our citizens, business owners, and visitors in this community to recognize the substantial contributions of the Department of Public Works in making the Borough of Spotswood a great community for all. Dated May 16, 2016, Nicholas Policino, Mayor.
Very well done. Thank you all. Comments? Ted, anything for the regular meeting?
Do we want to go over this proposed ordinance change?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Sometime back, I brought up about amending our ordinance for decorum at meetings. And I wrote something up, I submitted it, and we're going to put it on for a vote at the next meeting.
Yes.
And I just wanted to see if anyone had any questions or suggestions based on what council has put together for us.
Okay.
Ted, you know, I emailed, I just had two questions. One was that the 5-minute rule that we talked about should be enforced at all times. So I appreciated Cheryl saying, keep me honest, right, and not go beyond 5 minutes with her comments. So, you know, I don't know if that has to be written into the ordinance, or is that something that we'll just take as, you know, a general rule?
I think these regulations, and most of them already currently exist, it's just that they're a little hodgepodge the way they're written in the ordinance. This codifies things, and it makes it something that we can print out and put on our bulletin board over there for people attending the meetings. But I think that 5-minute rule is really more of a tool that the council can use when meetings are either heavily attended, there's a controversial issue, or if someone's trying to monopolize a meeting. It's a tool that we can use, that we have at our arsenal. We're too public-friendly to have to time everyone. If they're being relevant and if they're being bringing information that takes longer to address this, I think it just should be a tool that we use.
And I agree with you, but I you know, that one meeting that we did have where we did have to set some limits, it was very tough for you, Kurt, to actually, you know, time people, listen to people, respond to people. So could we just designate who would be doing that timing if we did have to have it?
Yeah, well, I think we can have anyone on the dais, and certainly it could be the clerk. I don't know that it has to be written.
The assistant clerk.
But it was not something we had done before, and
Right.
trying to keep track of the time and track of the comments and what you might want to respond, it was difficult and distracting, so we'd be happy to let Pat do that. We'll just get her a little bell.
The other question I had was about, you know, presenting video and audio, and, you know, like, I know on that particular meeting, the mayor had something he wanted to show. We were not previously informed of this, and since we know this is our meeting, you know, codifying how that's done shouldn't rest just with the president of the council. I just suggested that perhaps if, you know, let's say the mayor requests another video to be shown, about something, or a member of the public, or the EMS. I think I had brought, a video for EMS that one time, and we wound up not showing it. Perhaps the council president, with the advice of council, could decide yes or no, whether it would be shown at a public meeting. That was my only other comment.
Yeah, I have one too. Along with the codification, I do, I like myself, and I'm sure the council does, the addition of the refraining from personal attacks on employees and members of the borough. I mean, that was a long overdue addition. I mean,
Yes.
personally, you want to talk to me one-on-one, yeah, go ahead, beat me up, but when we're in a professional stature like this, you should conduct yourself professionally, especially if you don't have all the facts.
Right.
Okay. So I'm glad to see the improvements.
Ted, yeah, kudos to you for taking the onus of putting this together with all of those pieces of the other ordinances that we had, and codifying it into one discrete document that we could now post on the doors for a big meeting, or where there's some, questions.
The only thing on viewing the video, it can be difficult since no more than two of us can be together at once to see it. It could take a lot of time for everybody to review something before it's done.
Oh, no, I think just the idea of what the video or the audio
I
would
mean,
be.
we're not operating in a vacuum. We all are able to communicate and say, hey, I've gotten this video, and if you have a concern, you want to watch it, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think we're just about ready to go with it then. Okay. Thank you, Ted.
Anything else?
Ed, anything?
Sure.
Parade. Parade's coming.
Parade's coming. Parade's,
It's getting close.
that's the last part of my thing today. I myself, along with Council President Stolen and Councilman Service, attended the Day of Prayer on the 5th. It was a good turnout. There was a lot of local leaders there.
And you prayed for us who weren't able to make it, right?
Absolutely,
good.
absolutely. The mayor of Helmetta joined us.
Good.
Along with this past Sunday, which I'm glad the walls didn't fall down, I attended the 11 a.m. Mass at Immaculate Conception and stayed for the shrine dedication, which was a very nice ceremony. Both archbishops, past and present, were there. And if I mess up their names, I'm sorry. Past would be Paul Gregory Bukowski. Thank you. And President is James Francis
Taccio.
Chicchio.
Chicchio.
Thank you.
Bishop.
Bishop.
Yes.
Yes, Bishop now, yes. Got the new title. And the parade. Everything's ready. I know the chief of police and his men are going to help us that day. They do a great job. They help us determine when it's time to call it an end, and I like that. I hope everybody has a good time. It doesn't look like it's going to be 90. I don't want to say that too loud, knock on wood, the way the temperature's going. The parade route this year is from Schweitzer's Company on Main Street, straight down to the Legion. And the reason being is there's more homes on that location, more shade to help those who are marching. So there should be more people to watch, because generally it's a platform from leaving from the high school down, while the parking is a little easier. There's generally nobody watching the parade until we get around the corner and down past Renaissance. So we figured by moving it down that end, we get a little more parade participation by spectators. I know Marge will be joining us again for services. We have services that leave the Legion at 6:45 in the morning. We visit a few cemeteries. We stop, have breakfast, do a few of the memorials. Police memorial will be there this year. You'll have a time slot. I'll get it right to you, Chief. And I hope everybody comes.
Start time?
Start time, parade lineup 1 o'clock, kickoff 2 o'clock. Maybe someday we'll get to move that. But that's about it.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for all you do to get that together.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of help. I have a lot of help. I really do.
Okay. Mark?
I don't know if you have a lot of help. I see you running around like crazy every day.
It's always the silent people you got to acknowledge, Marge, the silent ones.
The wind beneath your wings, right? We are having a meeting, hopefully on Friday, with Janine Balaz. We want to explore having the senior center open into the evening hours with activities, and we're starting to do that with an initial meeting with myself as the liaison, with Dawn, and with Janine Balaz, our director. I know Janine brought it up to me last time I saw her at the volunteer luncheon, so we're going to take the ball and run with it, and look into transportation and all those other issues. And of course, Kurt, the budget, we will keep that highly in mind. Robert Kirsten, I had requested to meet with the new director of EMS. I have not had the pleasure of meeting him yet, so we're going to be setting that up in the next 2 weeks so that I can meet him and say hello and have him meet me. May 25th, actually, all of these people we read proclamations about except Public Works. EMS, the police, and fire are organizing a breakfast for the senior citizens at the Office on Aging on May 25th in the morning, and it is an event very heavily attended, very much appreciated by everyone who comes, and it's a way to meet and greet the officers, the fire volunteers, our fire department volunteers, and our EMS personnel in an informal setting, because it's just tough when something happens and you meet them in the ambulance or whatever. This way, they can have a nice give and take, a nice conversation while they're eating breakfast together. And so I just want to express appreciation ahead of time for the delicious breakfast I know that we're going to have, and the great conversation on that day. And then I just think we need to touch on Schweitzer's, if we got any contact from them. I mean, these 3 questions I will ask until eternity, until we see some movement. The Crescent Avenue, the repairs to that, where that stands, and the EMS building, what is that? So Dawn, I know you haven't given your report yet. If you could give us an update on those 3 things, that would be wonderful.
Well, Schweitzer's, you have a 9 a.m. meeting on Wednesday, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And
So I'll
that,
have more to report at the next meeting on that.
yeah, we had asked one of the council to go. Ted said he was available to go, if you could, keep him in the loop. And
Sure.
you don't anticipate it lasting more than an hour, right?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ted.
Thank you, Marge.
I have nothing.
Nothing? Dawn? You're up.
I had no report this evening. I was going to reserve for personnel, but in response to Marge's questions, I do have a meeting on Wednesday with Schweitzer. And also, we are in the process of scheduling another meeting with the architect. We've allowed the EMS director, as he stated, he is new, to review the plans, and he's going to participate in the next meeting. So we wanted to give him a chance to get up to speed on those plans.
Okay.
Crescent Ave, I don't have any report yet. I have not received anything from the county.
Yeah, I got to tell you, that is so, I can't even believe that we allow that to be traversed, because it is so terrible, really. And it's really East Brunswick side. It's not so much Spotswood side.
It is East
So
Brunswick
I don't
side.
understand, Bruce, how the road could deteriorate on one half and not the other.
Unless there was more traffic coming the other direction.
Okay.
Off the top of my
Coming
head,
into
I
town.
don't know.
That's
Possible.
probably
There's no
positive.
real drainage over there either, and
Right.
that never helps when the water's freezing and it doesn't have a place to go. And
Yeah, because the curbs are all on our side,
yeah.
and the sewer drains.
Okay, Pat, do you have anything?
No.
No? Okay, then entertain a motion to open to the public.
Motion open to the public.
All in favor?
Aye. It's your time. Any comments or questions? Just ask you to come up to the podium, state your name, address for the record.
Boss, you've been patient.
Good evening. My name is Wanda Bianculli, 25 BB Avenue. This is my first time I've been at a town council meeting. I'm here to tell you about my concern for my grandchildren's safety when I take them to Mundy Park. I had written to the entire Board of Freeholders because I didn't know who to write to, and they forwarded to Dawn McDonald. She kindly answered me in an email that she received my letter that I wrote to them. I also was told that it's the mayor's responsibility. Then I was told that it was the responsibility of the person from the Public Works Department, and this is my concern. When I first moved here 21 years ago, that park was a sham. Since that, it has been renovated. My grandkids, I watch them every day. They love to go there. It is a big public safety issue. There is about 20 feet of fence that there is no fence in the front of the park. This park is built on a busy intersection, and I want to know how did anyone think that this was acceptable for children to play at a park when all these vehicles are going by? It's an accident waiting to happen. So I don't understand how this, doesn't a park have to pass inspection? But yet the basketball court has gates on both sides, and that's okay. That's you know, if the ball falls out from there, nobody's going to get hurt. However, if a ball rolls into the street, the first response of a little child will be to chase that ball. What is the big deal of not putting a fence in the front of the park that faces that busy intersection that has a latch that when people get in there, they can close it?
I mean, we had seen your email, and Dawn had provided it to us. Most parks don't have a locked gate.
I'm not saying a locked gate.
Or a latch
I'm saying with a
gate.
latch.
A latch.
If I go to the Veterans Park in Monroe Township, that's a sprinkler park. The fence is only 3 feet high, and yet it has a latch there so children don't run out. You go to any park, and that park isn't even near a busy intersection, but I don't understand why it's such a big gap. And there, I mean, on many occasions, and I'm there a lot, many occasions when I've been there, children were going towards that end, or they get distracted because they see cars and trucks go by. You know, they want to like run there and get a better look. Why can't there just be a piece of fence there with a latch? You come in, you close. I'm not talking locking. I'm just talking you latch it. I don't go to the park and read the newspaper while my grandkids are running around. As a matter of fact, my grandson's going to be 2 next month, and my granddaughter's a little bit over 3. When I put them in a swing, they love to go there because they like to watch the traffic go by. I put them in there, they like to watch the lake, and I put them facing the lake. And this, not only my grandchildren, but I've seen other children there, mesmerized by the same thing. All I'm saying is it's an accident waiting to happen that a child will run into the street. I'm just saying, why can't there be a fence there?
Oh, let me, Bruce, maybe I could ask you, what type
There's a
of standards?
fence along the entire frontage along there. There's an opening for the one sidewalk that comes up. If you do put a gate there, it's got to be ADA compliant. Most gates are always left open. Check your parks. They seldom are in use. The basketball court has 3 gates so that nobody could be trapped inside it. It really minimizes the chance of one person being in there and 2 others deciding they were going to corner them and hurt them. So it always has 3 gates, and that one has 3 gates for that reason. Plus, the gates are to make sure the ball doesn't come out and strike somebody who's playing in the park. The fence meanders, the landscaping staggered on both sides of it. It ends at the property where the bike path goes around and comes back around. So if you want to put a gate on it, you can have a gate put on it, but I don't know that it's going to be closed.
What's the rough cost?
Gate, couple $100 probably.
But what's ADA
ADA gate,
compliant?
right?
Does it have to
Well,
be
you have to
motorized?
have, no, you'll have to have the special lever, and also a person in a wheelchair has the ability to open it.
So there's currently a fence along the DeVoe
Yes.
Avenue.
Yes.
So that no-
There's a fence, it's built at a triangle. There's a fence on Mundy, and there's a fence on DeVoe. But on the other side of the park where you park the car, there's no fence either. It ends there also.
Yeah, because the parking lot is there. The idea of the sitting area with the benches in the circle with no back on them is so parents have a place to sit and congregate, but actually be close to the children, and it's a pretty good distance from that. You have the upper sitting area where you can watch somebody in the basketball court or on the split tot lots, or there's a sitting area in the middle of the split tot lots with the benches around it, so you can sit there. And I would think that a child taking off, a parent would be able to catch it, you know, a young child before they, it's all fenced except for the opening for the sidewalk. So if you want to put a gate on, you can.
It's not, I disagree with that, it's not all fenced. Because if you're in the park and you're facing the swings where the little kid swings are, on the side where it's on Mundy Avenue, and then there's the guardrail for where, you know, the street, that section's not closed either.
Well, he said that was for the parking lot.
That was.
No, that's I'm talking about the other side, it's not closed either.
Parks, in this area, parks aren't often, like in North Jersey, where they're fenced and they have barbed wire on the top. We tend to try to leave them more open because it's why people go to a park. I mean, if you want to add fence, add fence. I don't believe I'm not aware of an accident as of now, but that doesn't mean.
Not yet. Not yet. But I'm just saying that,
But
Yes, finish, Bruce.
I'm done, thank you.
I mean, a gate is somewhat false security. You can't have your children there without being supervised.
I
because someone
supervise
could
them
open the gate
constantly.
And they could run out. So
I understand
A gate
that.
is a false security. Plus, it's a very wide area. We would have to bring it in and make it's like less open to people coming in and using it. So, I mean, we can.
I disagree with that, because most people, I'm a walker, but most people that come to that park drive and park there. So they're on the other side. I've seen people walk in there. I'm just saying that I supervise the kids. I'm not sitting there chatting with people while they're running around and I don't know what they're doing. I mean, my grandson runs so fast. He ran so fast by the, not only him, but other children that have been there. I don't understand why a couple of $100 would deter you from putting a fence there when it could be a callous, you know, it could be a tragedy where it's going to cost you thousands in legal fees if somebody comes forward. All I'm asking for, it's a safety issue. There should be a gate there with a latch when people come in from that busy intersection to close it. When the kids are in there, to close it. You just said yourself, there are two doors in the basketball court, and you can close doors. Well, so your basketball doesn't roll down the hill. If it rolls down the hill, it's not going to kill someone. If a child runs in the street, it will do something, so.
Okay, I think we'll all have to take a look and we'll discuss it.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else tonight?
Make a motion.
Yes, no, someone's coming up.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello, Dean.
So far, it's been a very good meeting. I like it.
I'm glad
Dean
we have your
Slaker,
approval.
Alcoff Avenue. It was brought to my attention this past week that there may be some misunderstandings with the Friends of EMS page, and I just want to clarify for everyone. Yes, I am one of the administrators, not the only one. Two people who were attacked in a comment are no longer associated with the page. They haven't been for several months. We had
Two people
meeting-
that made attacks or two people that were attacked?
No, well, a verbal attack was made on the page.
Against?
Yes, against the page, accusing us of being liars. I just wanted to show everybody, this is half of the documents that go into one post, okay? Now, think about it, this is only half. And as one of the administrator, I have to meet with the other ones, and we have to go through every individual page before we can allow anything to go down on the page.
Dean, can you just talk about this? So it's a Friends of Spots with
well,
EMS website?
Yes, we have a
Okay.
Facebook page. When we
They have a
first
Facebook?
started,
Okay.
when we first were made aware of the EMS, being abolished or attempted to be abolished, we formed a group of people to help fight for them.
Okay.
And what we did was we established a Facebook page that people could go to, and we would post any information that we could get. Like if we would come to a council meeting, we'd say, okay, this is what we learned at the council, and we would try and keep people informed. This page, now I will admit that we have grown a little bit, and we do try the best we can to keep people informed on everything that goes on now. Because a lot of people, as you can see, they only show up when they feel threatened. And then as soon as they don't, it's okay, let's scurry back into woodwork and don't worry about it. So what we've done is form a Facebook page to try and keep everybody informed. And I just wanted to assure, and now Kurt, you can come to me anytime you have a question. If any of you want to make a comment on it, I don't have a problem with that. All I ask is, don't make it like this, where you're attacking someone's marriage, calling us liars, and come on.
Somebody
Really?
up here on the dais?
It was a public official. You can see the name.
I can't.
Who's the name?
It was the mayor? Who was it?
Talking about I can make unicorns fly. You know what? I wish I had that magic. I really do. But, you know, all I ask is keep it professional.
That should be the other way around, too.
Well, we do, Chuck, come on. I don't put a post up without
Come on,
documenting
Dean.
everything.
Okay.
We research everything. I have an entire staff of people put together. We have people who do Oprah requests, people who do investigative work. We have people who research. And we sit down and personally go through every page. And believe me, it takes me days to get through every one of these pages. And I make sure that when something goes on that page, this post talks about, I apparently came to a meeting and told you guys that I never did my own posting. When did I do that? I spoke with Kurt once, privately. And all I did was explain to him, I did not do that last post. I no longer do the posting. I'm the administrator. I have to oversee everything. I have to monitor everything that these people do. They all check with me and the other two administrators. We have professional people taking part in this. Believe me, we are not. He sits there and goes in, yeah, sometimes it gets a little personal. But it's not a personal attack as a person. He's a public official. Everybody up there is a public official. We are not going to always agree.
That's right.
But all I ask in return is, if you want to make a comment, all you have to do is hit like on the page, and you can view it. It's a public page.
Who took this down?
I printed that.
No, who took it off the page?
Is it off the page
It's
now?
not on the page now, I just looked.
Okay, well then.
It's gone.
The other administrator must have took it down. I asked you
When
to
did
leave
this
it up.
actually come on?
This came on, I don't have that.
Was that the one I had shown you? The one?
That was the comment that
Was
you
that
had
the
shown
same
me
I showed?
and questioned me about,
Right.
and I told you honestly, I did not actually post that particular post. I did research it, I did verify.
Oh, and this went on after that.
And that went on immediately afterwards.
Okay.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah,
You know, one of the things,
you know, I'm not asking for, you know, I understand we're on the
This
opposite
is
end of the
why,
fence right now.
no, we're not. Well, you know what,
You
it's
know,
all
I mean, I
about
know that you guys have to
social
do your- you guys have your thing
responsibility
to do.
in public. You don't do things like this, you talk to people.
Yeah, I mean, but so
And
I
there's
just
a
want to let you
civility
guys
of
know. And in no
discourse.
way would I happen to admire you a great deal. I know it doesn't seem
I'm
that way.
impressed.
Thank you for
Thank you.
saying that.
Wouldn't have got that from your site, but okay.
Listen,
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
You know, it's not, we're not out to hurt anybody. We're just simply, we have a responsibility. I gave my word to the EMPs, to the residents, that I would always do the best I could to keep them informed on everything I could learn. And that's exactly what I've been trying to do. I'm
I give you.
not
a suggestion?
perfect. I wish I could tell you I was perfect. I'm not.
Hang on, Ted.
Can I give you a suggestion?
Yes, please.
One of the things you may want to consider doing for some transparency is list who the administrators of the page are, so that if there's a question, it can be directed to the
Well,
administrator.
it's fear of this that they don't want to be known. So that's why I agreed to become the public figure, because I just assumed they would attack me. I don't really care. People want to attack. I used to get attacked all the time as a kid.
You know what, though? Silly things happen when it's
Yeah.
anonymity. When you can stand up, when you can state something with your name behind it, it
And-
has a lot more impact than being anonymous and
but for them
throwing
to
things
sit there
out there.
and say, but this is exactly why nobody wants to. I agreed to take responsibility for it, and I will. If anybody has questions, they know that they can just come to me and say, hey, Dean, can you do me a favor and look into this? Just like you did the last meeting. And I did. I got I gathered up as much documents as I could. This is only half of it, because believe me when I tell you, we research everything.
Yeah.
And we do the best we can.
your fault. You know, the person who put that up
And-
is not here. And
I know,
address
2
that.
meetings in a row, and that's what I'm trying to get across to people is, how can I be telling this man anything when he's not even here? You know?
Make an appointment.
Yeah, you have to keep, it seems like you got to make appointments. But I just wanted to show you guys here. I'm not the enemy. believe me, I just happen to be a resident who was born and raised here, and I spent my whole childhood vowing to get out of this rinky-dink town. And guess what? When I became a dad, where was the first place I went? Because my heart belonged here. This is where I was raised, and this is where I want my son to be raised. Because I know that I want my son to have that same feeling that I had growing up. Because you know what? As much as as a kid, I wanted to get out of here, I always felt safe. Because even back then, we had a fantastic police department. We had a great EMS. We had a great fire department. And today, the guys we have today, they put the old timers to shame. I mean, I hate to say that because I grew up with a lot of the old timers. But these guys are fantastic, and so are our EMTs. Oh, so are our firefighters. You know, these are people that have a passion for being here. And they don't have to be, because I personally think these guys are the guys that should be getting $174,000 a year, not the damn senators over in Washington.
Right.
I want to see one senator put a,
Jersey.
you know,
Thank you, Dean.
I want to see a senator put a bulletproof vest on to go to work and say, oh, I make enough money. No, it doesn't work that way. But I do, you know, if I owe anybody an apology, if I offended anybody, that's not my intention.
You gotta
Okay.
keep your finger on the trigger with these posts. When they come
Yeah.
on and they're like that, just delete
The
them.
only reason I didn't delete his comment was because I wanted to see how many people would respond to it.
But you know what? That just starts to incite people then.
And I just wanted to see, and I didn't want to respond to it right away as an actual post because I didn't want people to think that, okay, it's becoming a personal war, because that's not what I'm about. I'm not here to personally start wars with anybody. I'm just here to do the best to my ability to save the EMS so that we can continue to have the best police department, the best EMS, and the best firefighters that we've always had. And again, they were a very good EMS service when Leawood's boys were there. So a lot of these people actually worked with you that are there now. So, you know, that's all we're trying to do.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, and I just
Thank you,
want to
Dean.
thank you for, and I wish I could stay, but I have a 13-month-old in the intensive care. So
Well, we're almost wrapped up, I think.
thank you all for
Okay.
listening.
Sorry to hear that.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Living proof of social media is a killer.
Hello.
Kathy Barish, 320 Media Avenue. This happens to be my first time here, and I'll have to thank Mrs. Bass for that. Anyway,
Well, welcome.
thank you. I have to say that I agree with this grandmother. I have been to the park numerous times, and my children are 8 and 9, and I stopped going to that park for that very reason. And I do have to say, there are many parents there, and there are many grandparents there, and by just putting a gate at that entrance could be enough time, especially if you have more than one kid, to grab that kid, because it is very dangerous. And I have seen parents run out practically to the street to grab their little children. And I understand the openness of things, but there are a lot of parks also in Monroe who also fence in their entire area and also have pull latches as for the ADA compliance. So just enough to close in at least that part, not to say that the entire thing, but enough for parents to get, because that is right pretty much where that main intersection is, where those people are right there. And I have to say, I commend this grandmother for speaking up, because I know sometimes it gets really tough. And I have to say, a round of applause for you for sticking up for your grandkids and all kids in town. So I agree with her.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? None
Make a
seen?
motion, should we close public here?
Second.
Before you do that, you had the chief here all night.
Well, I asked the chief to stay if anyone had a question on the resolutions, and they did not.
About the e-ticketing?
Yeah.
Ticketing or
You want
anything.
to say a few words about the e-ticketing? Okay, go right ahead. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk administratively, and then I'm gonna get my program manager, police officer.
Come on up here, chief, so they can see you on the video.
Administratively, when we write paper tickets, which I enjoy writing, by the way, still to this day was one of my favorite parts of the job. We could talk about that all night, but what we do in that mechanism for that administratively is that there's multiple copies, carbons on carbons, goldenrods, blues, pinks, hard copies that go to the driver, unfortunately for him or her. But these copies go everywhere. They get processed through our records department, through our traffic safety, there's stats drawn from them. But it's data entry by multiple people, 3 people. So e-ticket, for me, the attraction number 1 is that it streamlines administrative duties. That once those e-tickets are written by the officer, they automatically go into our enforces system, which we pay a great deal of money for, is our computer system that generates all our police reports, our case numbers, our CAD, our records management system. So it saves police records from entering that. And with OPA requests and discovery and mobile vision and audio recordings and video recordings and the eons of things we have to pump out for cases, that just streamlines that. It's bad manpower allocation. I don't mean manpower, just men, I mean women as well. We're doing the same thing, and multiple people are doing all this data entry. It just takes a lot of time. It's wasted money. It's not cost effective. So for me, that's the big attraction with e-ticket. It streamlines what records does, what the officers do as far as paperwork, and it keeps them safer on the street as well. Less time to write tickets on the street. Although I really did enjoy ripping off that hard copy of the ticket. That won't exist anymore. It does give less time for your officer. I know that Officer Sasso, who really is a techie as far as LED lights and vehicle maintenance, and he's my project manager. He's used e-ticket in another police department before he came to Spotswood. So he's a field operations guy that's actually used it. So don't be too verbose, please.
Basically, e-ticketing, what it does is it cuts down our time when we write tickets. When we write a ticket, it could take anywhere from 5 minutes to write it, hand it back, whereas once we have this system, it'll allow us to spend less time behind the wheel looking down, which is a safety for us, safety for the people we have pulled over, because you're on the side of the road. It allows us to do what we have to do quickly, get you where you have to go, get us back on the road to protect the residents and everything else that we have to do. It consists of a printer program which interfaces. It's owned by the same company. We have an interlocal agreement with South Brunswick where our computers come from them with InfoCop on it. It's owned by the same company, GTBM, so it interfaces seamlessly with that software. So what will happen is we'll put the plate information in, take your driver's license if you're not the registered owner, put it in the scanner, it'll pre-fill all the information, dump it right onto the ticket based on GPS. So all the information's there. It should take no more than 30 seconds to write a ticket. With that, on nights where we have a DUI and there's multiple summons issued, you could write 10, 12, 15 tickets for a DUI based on all the offenses that they've done. Wow. It could take us 30, 40 minutes to write all these tickets, whereas now all I have to do is input your information, check off all the boxes, and it'll put them all out. It'll take 2 minutes. Again, allowing us on a night where we might only have 2 guys on to get back on the road to possibly find more drunk drivers or handle calls and things that we have to do. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Again, the chief hit the point with the man hours. We have to manually enter all our handwritten tickets through records into our CAD system, which tracks the tickets, the type of violations we wrote, because when we have grants and things like that, we fill out the paperwork, we use that system to print out exactly what we've done so we can fill out the paperwork correctly. Now what'll happen is as soon as we do it on the computer, it'll dump right to the system and go right to the court. So Lori, our court administrator, doesn't have to manually enter everything either. It just streamlines the process.
She also doesn't have to pay for tickets anymore. The ticket ferry doesn't give those tickets out for free, and they have to be purchased through the borough every year.
Now, would you have this set up for like anybody that comes through town to catch people and automatically ticket them in any way?
Well,
Not automatic ticket.
no, yeah,
Okay.
it's not automatically, and are you talking about the license plate scanner?
Yeah.
That's a separate thing. E-ticket is just a software that allows us to write the tickets.
Okay.
As
So,
opposed to carrying the ticket book around anymore.
okay.
Well, we had got, I'm sorry.
I would say we also will have a unit inside, so again, with DUIs, we can do all that, and we'll also have a portable unit coming. So let's say one of our main line cars that have a computer that we pay a yearly fee for from South Brunswick is down. We now have portable units in the form of a heavy-duty Panasonic ToughPad with a built-on printer and scanner. So if you're in the spare car for the day, you just grab it off the dock and bring it out, so there's no problem.
We had gotten some of this explanation during the budget process, but it was a very good idea to have the presentation tonight, so I want to thank you both for that. Okay.
Chief, one quick question. Municipal ordinances still on hard books, or can they go on the e-ticket?
Good question.
As of right now, I believe we only have the traffic portion of it. I can look into if we want to do municipal ordinances.
We had some of the municipal orders, but there was
The 4-ton trucks, for example.
Oh, those we can do. I thought you meant.
No. Things like the
Yes.
4-ton trucks.
Yes, we can enter those manually, and it'll go into place.
It'll go into e-ticket also. Perfect.
But interference with borough officers.
Yeah, I was talking more on that end of the spectrum. We'd have to get almost a customized setup for that, so it's.
But they're usually coming in handcuffs anyway, so you got a few more minutes in the back with them.
Officer Sasso, Dr. Chief Zarrow, thank you both tonight.
Thank you.
Any license plate reader questions?
Yeah. So what is it?
Make sure your car is up to date
I was
with
gonna
registration.
say, we should clarify that we're getting for one car, not
Yes.
4 systems.
I wanted to clarify, it's a 4-camera system. It's not 4 systems.
Oh, okay.
It's one
Yeah.
system. We were behind the times a couple of years ago, say around 2009. The state started handing them out through the prosecutor's office for busy towns, terrorist hotspots, drug corridors, urban areas. The prosecutor's office was actually giving them through a grant. So you'd get a town like Edison, New Brunswick, Woodbridge. They were actually allocated units, and they were property of the county, and you can use them because what the county really wanted was the data. So the county operates the server, which we get to go on for free. So part of this project that's good is we save $15,000 on a server and back office software. It also allows us to have a large cache of information that I can pull from any time, whereas if we had our own server and we couldn't jump onto our county server for free, we would only have the information that our town has. So let's say we're doing an investigation and we had a plate that was given to us and we need to see where this person is. If this plate is constantly registering Edison at a certain time throughout the day, maybe they're coming home from work, we'll be able to see some of this information. It's definitely good for investigations. It's also good for, I'm sure everybody here has been on our main street during the rush hour times. That traffic could back up from the DeVoe Avenue intersection to the Summerhill Road intersection. In that time, a lot of those cars aren't moving. So it doesn't catch our eye for any kind of violations. There's a lot of hidden violations, unregistered vehicles, driving while suspended, warrants. We can only do what we see. But now with this vehicle, it will have these cameras on it. It will drive by and it will scan every license plate and run every registered owner for warrants. And it will allow us to basically see the unseen. It will make this town safer in terms of catching violations and people that shouldn't be on the road. And me as a traffic safety officer and the amount of people that I actually stop, 9 out of 10 people are not from this town. We're a major pass-through town. A lot of Monroe, a lot of Sayreville, a lot of East Brunswick. A lot of people we don't know. So it's good to actually have this kind of information on file. And now that we're starting it, we hope to continue with possible fixed units in the future.
Very good. We're a small community,
I
but we
updated
have
my
first-rate technology coming our way.
But the good thing about the first-rate technology, we don't want to spend money if we don't have to, and I know that. But we don't need a large quantity, we need small quantities. We're not only doing 200 of everything, we need 4 or 5 of everything.
Right.
And that's a good thing, that's our positive, and that's what makes us an easy town to manage at times.
Okay.
Thank you
both
very
again.
much.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Officer.
All right, we're going to have a closed session tonight.
Is Dawn done any reporting? Dawn?
No, we have to have a resolution.
No, we didn't close the public yet.
And we closed it.
I thought we left it open so Chief could look.
I thought we closed it and then he spoke. No, let's do it again.
All right, let's close it.
Make a motion to close?
Second.
Good night. Good night,
All in favor?
Aye.
Now it's closed.
Take care, Frank.
Yeah, good night.
Okay, I have a closed session. Where's Dan?
He's over here.
All right, he's going someplace. He left his coat. Okay. Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 PL 1975 permits the exclusion of the public from meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Borough of Spotswood, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey as follows. 1, the public shall be excluded from the discussion of any action upon the hereinafter specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Personnel. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public when confidentiality is no longer required. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Make a motion, we pass the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.